Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I want to ask you, Keldon, it's game number 400. 400 for him as a Spur. Is it safe to say with his play, his personality, his willingness to accept any role, he's really carved a place in Spurs lore?
I don't know if I'm.
Not a historian.
Oh no, not a historian. I just don't know if I'm applicable to answer that. But in my opinion, I think he's definitely showed how important he is to the organization. Just, he's brought him off the bench way before he needed to be. He accepted it. He gives his number to CP. He continuously shows how important he is, not just through his on-court production and play. And I think it's just been fun for me to watch. My first year in San Antonio with Pop was Keldon's rookie year. And there's not a lot of us left from the bubble, which is crazy to say, but we know. So there's a lot of time there where he was a young pup and getting yelled at and chewed out by LA and DeMar and those guys. And now to see him is funny at times, but really cool to see.
What's your favorite thing
About KJ? The consistency. I've seen him when we've lost a lot, when we've won, when he's played a little bit, when he's played the whole game, when he's led us in scoring, when he hasn't, in terms of for the whole season. And the guy's consistent. And I love that about him. And I probably would also add, I've probably coached him harder than any other player in this program since I've been here, and he does nothing but take it and never gives any negative about it, and that really helps me.
I mean, that was a famous thing with Timmy, was like, just yell at him in front of everybody to set the example. What does that example do for the rest of the team?
I hope it produces an environment that nothing's personal. When we yell, it's typically to try to help them or give them feedback on something to challenge them or hold them accountable to be better at. It's that simple. Now, there's a lot of things we yell at them, and there's urgency, and there's competitiveness, and a lot of variables at stake at times, but that's all it really, when you strip it all the way back, and for a player like Keldon and a lot of our guys to be able to receive it that pure allows you to coach freely, because that's all we're trying to do is help them or, again, push them to be better at something that we think they can be better at.
Mitch, J-Dub, the fun was saying this game, aside from playoff games, playing on Christmas Day, is probably the most cool game for players if you're up for it. You went through this experience coaching the Spurs at MSG last year against the Knicks. What stood out about that experience from your perspective and for your guys?
Yeah, I think the Christmas Day games are very well documented. Huge day for our league, rightfully so. A lot of times you get big-time matchups that produce big-time games. And it's just fun to be a part of. I think MSG last year was a little added allure in the sense that I think MSG has that on a Tuesday in February. So Christmas, waking up in New York, being in New York, there is something. The game's at noon. There's just it was a special feeling, and it was a pretty cool moment, regardless of the actual game.
Coach, you talk about having to yell at a player, or just the other side of things. How has it been going into this matchup, or the other side of things, right? I mean, handing the defending champions 2 losses, this early to the season, you have a chance to get a third. How do you find that balance going into this game in the sense of letting them know that obviously it's a huge accomplishment, but there's another challenge just right around the corner?
Yeah, I think we've tried to have that approach regardless of opponent or outcome. These guys have had a heck of a start to the season, and they've won it, the most finals, right? So they're the champion until they're not. And so I understand the storylines, but we've lost games too. So you're not better than every team you beat and worse than every team you lose to, or again, you get into that deal where it's a never-ending rabbit hole. But when you're able to play teams like this in competitive games, it does so much for us as we're just trying to continue to get better. We're early on this journey as a group. There's a lot of firsts for this group, and the experience is going to be well served over time if we have the right approach, regardless of the outcome. Obviously, we want to win every single game. That's the goal. That's how we go into every game with that competitive mindset. But we also have to understand that we have a long way to go, and some of these teams we're playing have been together for a lot longer than us or have accomplished a whole lot more. So we're not going to overreact to the good or the bad of whatever happens in the first 30 games of a season.
Mitch, what memories do you have from your time in Tulsa as a player and also just kind of briefly being involved with this Thunder organization?
Well, I was only there for camp. So I remember just a really competitive training camp. But the one thing I think I could say in terms of the organization, because there's some people that have been here for a while that I've got to know over the years, and there's some people that have been here, obviously, that have some ties to San Antonio, and the professionalism, the consistency, and just the systematic process that they have really committed to over time. You see when you build something right, how sustainable and how impactful that can be. And I think from the little bit up close and a lot from a little bit removed, that would be my biggest takeaways with this organization and the people here is just the consistency. And that's why, again, a lot of people that are here, they're here for a long time for a reason.
Mitch, is the plan for Victor still in place off the bench, restricted minutes?
Yeah. The restricted minutes, and again, I don't know when it becomes unrestricted, but his minutes will be mindful, which is restricted probably in your vocabulary for ... Like we're not, there's nothing that's going to make us flinch or change on that. If this game goes into triple overtime, he will not be in at the end of the game. It's not, there's no circumstances that will allow us to get outside of ourselves with that regard. But he'll be off the bench and in that same space, yes.
Well, we ask you this every game because you're kind of obligated to.
Yeah.
Do you think about this? Like, do you every morning you're like, hey guys, can we play 40 minutes tonight? Or how do you process stuff like that?
Honestly, we are in such a good place, and good place means on the same page and understand, again, the emotions, the excitement, the circumstances of being in a cup game, playing on Christmas, playing a big-time team, having a couple wins in a row. None of that is going to allow us or dictate us in terms of big picture of what we want for that young man and for this team. And so when you look at the injury and what history tells us in terms of, being mindful of bringing a player back from that, and you look at his unique anatomy and all the things that we want to accomplish, not today, not this year, but years to come, there's nothing worth sacrificing or risking his long-term health and his long-term growth. And that we hope is very parallel to the team. And so, yeah, honestly, I just continue to try to answer your obligated questions respectfully in a different way a little bit so it doesn't get too tiresome for the people listening, but that is the honest truth.
Thanks, Mitch.
You're doing a good job.